Meow-two, a clone Pokemon. What a cool idea. Since Generation 1, we've seen Mega Evolutions and Gigantamax, heck, even Pokemon Fusions, but we haven't seen more Pokemon clones.
However, surely Giovani must have experimented on other Pokemon before Mew-two, and had he perfected the technology, he of course would have used it on other Pokemon, legendary or otherwise.
So today, I'm joined by PragMagik to combine his love of fakemon with my love of Pokemon lore and investigate this exact question. What would happen if Giovani had cloned some other Pokemon, or fused human or other Pokemon DNA with currently existing Pokemon? What would the results be? Also, this is only half of the video. If you want to see even more clones after this, you're going to need to click the link at the top of the description to head on over to PragMagik's channel, where you should absolutely subscribe and see everything we have to offer, because I think some of these ideas are incredible. Also, unless I say otherwise, all of the art that you see here today and in this collaboration is done by Alek, who you should also totally follow on Instagram if you love fakemon art. Okay, so let's start local and then we'll move out from there, because there is a Pokemon that Giovani has always by his side, and that is his Persian. It kind of makes Meowth very, very jealous in the animated series. And Persian is a Pokemon not on his gym team, and it's not his Mew-two. It's something special for Giovani. Now, Persian and Meowth as a family in general are a Pokemon with a very adaptable DNA, right? Meowth in other regions become Steel type and Dark type. Meowth and Galar don't even evolve into Persian, they evolve into Berserker. So already this Pokemon has kind of very malleable DNA. And what a coincidence, this Pokemon is a feline, much like Mew-two, so the template is already there. Giovani would take Mewtwo's DNA and map Persian onto it. This is his brand new monster companion. We give you
Meow-two, the copycat Pokemon, a dark steel type. Fusing together elements of all of Meowth's possible evolutions and its types as well, with it being far from normal. This design is the most Mew-two coded of the group. With it having that direct Mew-two DNA, it only makes sense. Meow-two is a perfect companion for Giovani. Unlike Mew-two, Meow-two is refined and obedient, ready to strike at Giovani's beck and call. No punk kids and their overpowered Pikachu are beating Giovani in a battle with Meow-two at his side. But Giovani would want more than to just clone stronger versions of a regular Pokemon. He would set his sights on other legendary Pokemon from other regions. So let's move on to the closest neighboring region, Johto. With Mew being a mythical Pokemon, it is only natural that Giovani would aim for another mythical Pokemon. In this instance, Celebi. Like the fourth Pokemon movie, Giovani would send the Iron Mask Marauder to capture Celebi, or at least attain some of its DNA. Instead of being captured in a Dark Ball, Celebi in this universe would instead be cloned by Giovani, creating Celebi. Holy heck. Okay, I absolutely love this design. Those of you who know me know my love for anime, like, exclusive-y Pokemon, like the Crystal Onyx, for example. And this, it's inspiration from the Beta Sprite and, of course, the fourth Pokemon movie, Twig Monster. I absolutely adore this. It is a dark grass Pokemon, and it is withered, falling apart, its body now made of bark. You could say its bark is worse than its bite. Good one.
Thanks, mate. It's rotting from the inside out, so any remaining psychic energy is being used just to hold this Pokemon together, meaning it lacks the ability to travel in time. As a result, Giovani has discarded this Pokemon, leaving it in the forest where it awaits the return of its arch nemesis, Celebi, to exact its revenge. However, if we were to look more local to the canon of Generation 1, there is another Pokemon that I actually think would make for a great candidate for Mew-two. No, it's not a legendary Pokemon, but in his pursuit of Mew-two, he goes via the Pokemon Tower, or at least he sends his grunts there, because he knows the truth. The ghost Pokemon are stronger than psychic Pokemon. And yes, the Ghastly line has the poison type as a kind of backup type, and so that is a problem. But if he could work on the DNA of a Gengar, one of the most powerful Pokemon of Generation 1, and extract the poison type and get rid of it completely, he could create a monster Pokemon. Having mastered the power of the Self Scope, we give you
Doppelgengar, the Umbral Pokemon, a pure ghost type. This is the most epic incarnation of Gengar I have seen. It almost feels like a past Paradox Pokemon. Doppelgengar brings in elements of the many versions of Gengar we have seen across the series. Mega, Gmax, that special giant Gengar from the anime, and even Clefable, referring to the long-running fan theory of Gengar being Clefable's shadow. This primal Pokemon uses its long, grotesque tongue to capture victims and bring them into its phantasmal maw. If this Pokemon apparates with prey in its stomach, they will become shadows themselves. But in a world where shadows are cast, at least there's some light to hide in, especially in Alola because of one certain legendary Pokemon. We see Giovani come to Alola in his Rainbow Rocket incarnation, in which he invades the Aether Paradise. Well, during his time there, he could have come upon Lucamine's research into successful symbiosis between Ultra Beasts and humans, like Lucamine and Nihiligo in Base Sun and Moon. Rather than go for any of the UBs, Giovani wanted the strongest beast to come out of the Ultra Wormholes, Necrozma. Perhaps his new rainbow appearance inspired the hunt for this prismatic creature, which he would eventually find and capture. Instead of trying to clone this creature, Giovani would instead try to fuse his DNA with it. What Giovani did not know is that he captured Necrozma in its incomplete state. This fusion of Giovani and an incomplete Necrozma created a horrific creature, an affront to nature.
We give you Necromancer, the soulless Pokemon. Soulless because it's soulless, and soul as in sun. This creature has an odd aversion to light, only ever coming out at night really, and when it does enter a space where there's artificial light, the light gets caught in its prisms and it doesn't escape anywhere, meaning rooms literally get darker when it enters. This Pokemon combines the necrotic elements of Necrozma, the death of light, and also the humanoid Giovani, who is pale and cold. The only surefire way to kill this Pokemon is with a shard of its own glass, stabbing it through the heart. Oh, and what's even cooler is it can call forth the light it absorbs from artificial lighting that's now trapped within itself, and it can use that energy to resurrect deceased Pokemon and fainted Pokemon and bend them to its will. Hence, Necromancer. However, count yourself lucky, this creature hasn't been seen in a while. They say it resides in an ultra space known as the Ultra Dark. And actually, this Necrozma project gave Giovani a pretty good idea. A lack of emotion, a lack of humanity, that's really what helps when trying to take over the universe. Cyrus came pretty close in his quest to eliminate emotions from the world, and even got hold of Mesprit, Azelf, and Uxie. So Giovani sent in a reconnaissance team to claim the DNA of these Pokemon from the tanks where they were held in the galactic headquarters, because these Pokemon are pretty similar in composition to Mew. So he already kind of knows how to clone Mew and turn that into Mewtwo, so he attempts to do the same here and extracts the very gene that gives Mesprit its spirit. He intends to create a Pokemon of pure apathy that will follow his command anywhere. So with that, we give you
Mesprit. Upon its creation, it was a normal Psychic-type Pokemon and is the apathetic Pokemon. This Pokemon, unlike Mewtwo, is not filled with an intense rage, nor does it want for anything. It simply carries out the orders of Giovani, no matter how brutal they are. This Pokemon simply channels the emotions of its trainer, which is why under the control of Giovani, its normal typing becomes Dark-type, and the gem on its head becomes an intense black. However, different trainers may change this Pokemon's types and abilities. The partial humanoid feeling of Mewtwo is displayed with this Pokemon. Mesprit, while being a clone of Mesprit, contains design traits of Uxie and Azelf as well. Unlike Mewtwo in the first movie, it will not have a change of heart, as it has no heart to change. However, a friend to all in a distant region would be the subject of the next cloning project. In Paldea, there's a Pokemon called Cyclizar that seems quite ordinary, and so Giovani overlooked it. However, scientists working under him couldn't stop talking about interesting variations on the Pokemon's DNA found within Area 0. When combining the DNA variations found within Area 0 with Cyclizar, it was a perfect match and integrated flawlessly. The Pokemon they created does not have the Berserk gene seen in most other clones, and will help Giovani with world domination, but not out of a desire for domination, but instead for sandwiches.
We present to you Genzaidon, the present Pokemon. This Pokemon is incredibly powerful. Paldean scientists were absolutely right to encourage Giovani to clone this Pokemon. There is a problem though. It doesn't really follow Giovanni's will based on like his evil wants. It can be bribed quite easily with sandwiches, but then it kind of laps up into Giovanni's lap and kind of gets all excited, and it's not really Giovanni's vibe. But hey, I like it. You might recognize this art, by the way, because when me and PragMagik were talking about like, hey, we should come up with an idea for like a Koraidon, Miraidon, like fusion clone. That would be really cool. And we were like, oh, we should call it Genzaidon because that would work like linguistically with the word Genzai, like, and kind of combining it all together. And then we looked on the internet and someone had already done it. And I stared at the artwork going, that looks really familiar. It took me a whole 5 minutes to realize that was my girlfriend's artwork. That's Cupperfee, who, by the way, has her new Pokemon channel talking about Pokemon art. I will also leave that linked in the description. If you like Fakemon, you should also check out her channel. because she's uploaded one video and it's doing better than basically any other videos on my channel. She's just that good. Of course, if you want more of these kinds of fakemon, you should head on over to PragMagik's channel, which is also linked at the very top of the description, where we have, yes, more Pokemon clones that Giovani may have created. Thank you all so much for watching, and of course, so hi Pokemon Masters.
Hello there, it's me, Professor Oak. This video is over, so please choose another one wisely, and quickly. Bye-bye.
Just the biggest thank you to those of you who've been supporting this channel on Patreon, including the big patrons of this month, Jed Rubin, Charmander Ansel, Anthony Lee, and the Alligator. Thank you so much.